Hello, everyone. How are you today? As we are looking at our organizational structure, we're always considering ways to build a repeatable system, right? Because we're looking at process and standards so that a business can be repeated over time. Now, I'm sure you remember the customer factory blueprint here. And part of this model of the customer factory blueprint is that we want to create structure through systems and routines. We want this to continue happening. We want the retainment. We want referrals. We want to keep having this process, this customer factory in full operation so that we have revenue and sales and happy customers. So part of building this repeatable, scalable system are two different types of knowledge. One is tactic knowledge, the other one is explicit knowledge. Now, tactic is really a type of knowledge that you experience, the know-how, right? So we can look at some of the ideas, personal and specific context, something that's very personal to you, difficult to describe, experiential, that you're applying the application of something, the whole experience. It's difficult to document and communicate, sort of like hands-on skills, special know-hows, and this is often called institutional knowledge. Now, explicit knowledge, very different. We can document, it's formal, we can write it down, codified. It's easy to document, easy to transfer and reproduce. Tutorials, policies, job descriptions are common examples of explicit knowledge. And it's also called organizational memory. So let's move on to factors to consider as we're documenting our process. So one is, we want to know that everyone has access to the documents, of course, right? And for anyone that's using them, they need the access to them. Now, I know sometimes entrepreneurs are reluctant to share their process and even document their process in fear that the secrets will be stolen. But in order to grow, we need to have some type of standards in place and documentation in place to grow. So we need to evaluate what we're doing. Are we just staying the same and concealing everything? Or can we document the information, have standardization, and grow? Now, activities can be reproduced effectively over time. We want to make sure that there is that standard, that consistent method over time. Tasks that indicate dependency on another task, right? So if something needs to be done, what needs to precede it in order to be able to complete that particular process? Also, do updates need to be done? Well, typically with any process, over time, we do need to update that particular process or task. Defining jobs and job analysis. So, very easily job descriptions are, maybe the title of a job, position, the location where someone would be working, the duties, responsibilities, and perhaps even workplace conditions. Where the specifications of the job are the knowledge, skills, and abilities required to perform that specific job. So we're looking at job description versus job specification. Now, the hierarchy of organizational, this is an org chart, right? Organizational chart that shows the president or CEO, maybe the entrepreneur, and then vice presidents, managers, lower end managers, and then eventually the workers. And it's sometimes very difficult to not have some type of operational chart with managers as a company grows over time. Now, I know larger companies like Facebook, Google, and even Amazon like to have a flat hierarchy, which is wonderful, but it is often difficult to duplicate. So it is something that may be needed depending on the type of business. Let's move on here to departments by different functions. So here we have departments by job function. When we have a business that has different functions, departments here, finance, HR, R&D, sales, this can work very productively for a single product company. right? When we have multiple products, it may be much more difficult. And there are advantages to this type of departments by job function. It can simplify the supervision and coordination of the work and providing the service to the customer. But the disadvantage is that it does create silos within departments. Let's move on to the next. Departments by product. So perhaps the company sells different type of products. Here in this example, computers, printers, software. This can be wonderful for multi-product companies, and it makes it easier for decision-making and integrating related activities, certainly as it relates to that specific product. But the disadvantages are the duplication of specialized activities within each specific department, and an over emphasis of a production within the company. So, that is a drawback to this type of department by product. Let's look at the next, department by location. So we have a company that is spread out in different regions. It certainly can help in many different ways. We can respond quickly to unique customer demands, but the disadvantages are certainly large administrative staff, because it's like 3 different companies within one company. Another one, departments by customer, right? We have our customer segments, maybe home users, business users, educational users. And this can be great for a sales type of organization or service-based organization, but and it can be very effective because you're dealing with that unique customer. But again, large administrative staff is required because you have 3 different companies within one. Now, let's talk about some common challenges as it relates to entrepreneurs struggling with delegation, which we often see a lot of startup companies in that predicament. So personal factors can come to play. Perhaps the entrepreneur has a high need of achievement. They are very overconfident. They only have a passion for starting the business and not that much for growing it. Many companies, or many like mom and pop type operations, we want to start the business and get it up and running, but we're not really interested in doing all that extra work to grow the company. And in that respect, they are not interested in delegating so much. Entrepreneurs prefer to be improvisational. They like the old style of doing things. The analogy, if it's not broken, don't fix it, is a good example of this type of customer or this type of entrepreneur, putting few concrete plans in place. Social factors could also be a dilemma for this type of entrepreneur who doesn't really want to delegate. Perhaps they have low trust or confidence in others, and they may have had a bad experience with delegating in the past, and it's difficult for them to clear their mind in that space to trust others again. Situational factors, perhaps the decision is very important and it may be difficult to delegate, or it's a fast-moving company and there's very little time for training. So how do entrepreneurs hire for positions that they really don't know how to do themselves? And that often occurs with businesses. The entrepreneur may be brilliant in a specific area, but lacks in other areas, and they need that balance within the company to help it grow. Some of the thoughts are to trust a third-party reviewer, create a probationary period. If the entrepreneur is experienced in research and development and has a wonderful product, but their shortfall is sales, and they can perhaps hire someone for a trial period. Perhaps an agreement can be reached. Hey, let's try this for 30 days. Let's see what happens. Either one of us can walk away, and hopefully we can make things work. So that is an opportunity. You can have a person within the same role, but within a different organization. That could help. It's great to collaborate with other companies so that you can help each other. Having an advisory board or board of directors, very important as a company grows, to have those uh, people that you can reach out to on a regular basis. All right, the example that we have for this module is Daisy Cakes. Now, Daisy Cakes aired on Shark Tank, I believe it was 2011, quite a while ago now. And she suffered some very bad setbacks from outsourcing her production. And that is something many entrepreneurs do as they grow. They think that that is the right avenue, is to outsource production. And in many cases it is. But in her particular case, it was not. So we'll show you some resources that I have for that. So just to wrap up here, we have how do we create systems to motivate employees, right? Motivating employees is important. We're going to need employees at some point. So we want to be sure that that they have a clear understanding of their goals and your goals and objectives, the specific role that they're going to play in the company, and what outcomes are expected of them. And one thing that really motivates employees very well is that they are able to delegate authority, that they have autonomy to make decisions. It's okay that they make mistakes along the way, that you're accepting of that, and that they can, that they're free to make some changes within the organization in their area. Want to be very careful to recruit employees that match our ethic and motives within our company, right? That also will help to motivate them. We want to be sure that we do provide them with the appropriate training that they need for the position, and that they have the equipment available to them. And we want to be sure that we reduce any problems and sources of frustration. Again, if letting the employee have that autonomy to make decisions will reduce that in itself. And then, of course, we need to ensure clarity of structure. We have that structure, we have the process in place for them. Okay, let's see. The other item is using technology. So we want to be sure to have maybe a enterprise resource planning software in place. Oracle is a good one, NSuite, Monday Inc., and so forth are good resources. I love having data because I want to compare how is the company growing and moving along the way. So using technology in this way can be very important. It can take the tactic knowledge. If you recall, the tactic knowledge is difficult to document, such as experience and so forth, into explicit knowledge. So this type of ERP can help us to take difficult to document knowledge into the data that we want to look at. Another one consideration is automation. So we want to try to automate as much as we can to save time, really, and to have good data and move us forward. Now, one thing we can consider, and even with a sales business or service business, we can generate reports on a consistent basis, maybe the same day or same week, and we can compare that data over time. Set calendar alerts, doesn't matter what type of business that is, that can be done on a regular basis. And sending automated emails to customers, having them set up, ready to go on a regular basis, sharing content on social media, that can also be automated and should be done on a regular basis. Okay, I wish you success with this module 9.